for the average person. But this dog had stalked us from half a block away, and there wasn't any out. There just wasn't any out. And you see the cues, in particular, this dog drops his head, starts stalking, and you know what's coming. Mm-hmm. And when the dog took off and went to get right up in the dog that I was walking, what I had done was, at that moment, was picked the dog that I was with up and flipped its bum to the other dog. That shut him down, and it allowed us enough time for the dog that was attacking to sniff, and then to back off, and then go lift his leg on a tree. And that gave us a window of a few seconds to walk on past. And it's a scary thing to go through.
Yep.
So
yeah, you have to make that. What do you do?
Yep.
What's happening? And long time ago, I had a very similar scenario, and I had this little shepherd puppy, and here comes this other dog charging us, and I picked up the puppy and spun him, and I ended up getting bit in the side. So, sometimes you just don't make the right decision. But, as dog trainers, I think it's all about, we'll take the hit so the dog doesn't take the hit, to know what's going on so the dog's not ruined. We can work through this, but you do.
Yeah, you're obligated, with the clients that we work with their dogs. My first obligation is to keep the client's dog safe. Mm-hmm. Regardless of the situation. That's our job, is to keep our clients' dogs safe. Yep. And I did not want this dog to be injured. And in doing that, I certainly exposed myself, mm-hmm. but thankfully, was not. Did not leave with any any scars.
Yeah. Michelle?
So to add kind of on to Shannon's and taking a breath and going out, I had a client not too long ago that her dog was only reacting with her, and I was taking the dog out, and the dog was fine with me every single time. So I went and I did a walk with her one
mm-hmm.
day, and as we were walking, I was like, "How do you feel? Like, do you feel like the leash is loose and stuff like that?" And she said yes, but it wasn't. Like she was giving the dog like maybe a foot, and she was relaxed, but the leash wasn't
mm-hmm.
itself. So we just got walking and talking, and I had her loosen up and give the dog more leash, and the dog was reacting a lot better. But I was talking to her about it, and I was asking her, like, different scenarios, like what goes on with this dog, like when her husband walks with them, how does she act and stuff, and she said that she's much better when the husband was with her. And I asked her, I was like, is your husband walking the dog, or are you? And she said no, and we finally got to the conclusion that it's because she's just more relaxed because she's talking to him, and she's not worried about what the dog is doing.
Yeah.
So I gave her the homework of making sure that either her husband went with her or a friend, or that she was on the phone, and so that she was just relaxed and not actually thinking about the dog. So the dog wasn't thinking about her and why she was nervous. That being said, which, like Shannon said, you do have to be aware of what's going on if you have a reactive dog, because you never know what is going to happen out there.
Yep.
And knock on wood, I've yet to have a dog fight happen while I was actually working dogs. I've had some scary stuff happen with my own dogs, but I've never done the flip thing with the bat, but I usually do. I'll push the dog, the dog, whatever dog I'm walking behind me, and I'll just get really big and yell at the dog that's coming at us, if it's nice or not. And I think that if you're out walking your dog, you have that right to tell other people to come get their dog, even if they're yelling down the street and their dog is nice. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Like your dog is the one being threatened at that point if the dog is running at you, if it's nice or not.
Yep.
And that your dog has the right to react that way if the dog is running at him.
Right.
So it's not fair to put your dog in this situation.
Yeah.
So please feel free to tell people to come grab their dogs if that is happening.
Yeah. It really, I mean, the first line of defense for a dog is to run, to get away, to get out of it. Dogs are pack animals, they're social animals. They, in general, like, that's how they're raised. They're born in a pack, they're raised in a pack. This is how a social hierarchy is. And so, all of a sudden, this leash is stopping them from running away. And I think one of the hardest things that clients have a hard time, like, comprehending is just keep going. just get out of it. If you can't get out of it, absolutely you have to take measures to keep everything safe. Yourself, your dog, everything. But it's better to drop the leash of your dog than for you to get bit, and give your dog an opportunity to run, to get away, to get out of it, instead of holding him there and trying to break it up. Because your dog will take that out as soon as they have that out. And so, get moving, keep moving, increase your speed. If your dog acts nervous, increase your speed. It helps them know that this leash is not the end all, that they don't have to kick in their second line of defense, which is stop and hold ground and become aggressive.
By increasing your speed, what is that doing for your dog?
Most dogs that are charging you and getting in that, they have a bubble. And so we're saying, we're scared too, let's get out of here. And most of the time the dog will stop. At some point, they will stop. And I'm not saying all scenarios. I was chased by a pack. They weren't stopping. I ran all the way to the truck with the dogs and got in and shut the doors. But in general, if it's a lone wolf out there stalking, they typically, if you can get out of the bubble, they stop. And every dog is different of what that bubble is. Yeah. So it helps get out of their territory that they're claiming as theirs. And you're helping your dog understand that we can get out of this, that we don't need to stand and be defensive over it. If you can get out of it. I mean, the situation you had, you can't get out of it. There's no place to get out of this dog's bubble. It's claimed the whole neighborhood, so there's no getting out of it. But when you can, getting past it and getting through it. And so as we talk about how do we train through leash reactivity, and what does that look like? And Shannon, what training tips would you give somebody to help them just get through it, just kind of start redirecting their dog or helping them through this?
I think, like, as far as controlling yourself and your emotions, really thinking about what you tell yourself in your head as you're walking. Mm-hmm. You can write a whole thing at home before you go on a walk. Oh, what a beautiful day. We're going on this walk and everything's fine. Look at these flowers, and just write it all out. Like, if you can't think of it before you go, write it all out and memorize it. Or you can memorize anything and say anything. If memorizing a poem and saying a poem while you're walking is going to help you, or having your iPod in one ear and having a calming song in there is going to help you. Whatever that you can do to prepare yourself to go and be calm while you're walking is the number one thing, I think.
It's hard for people to do that.
It is, because you're afraid too.
Mm-hmm.
And the feelings of what's going on goes both ways.
Right.
Your dog starts getting nervous, it affects you. You start getting nervous, it affects the dog. So when you already know that your dog is having a problem and you feel that energy, you have to be the one that stops it. And you have to have a game plan of tactics of what you're going to do to stop it.
Yeah. Good. That's good. Chris?
Well, again, like Shannon said, it's your mindset that you start out with, and that's not easy.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's easy for us, and that could definitely lead to why clients say, "I don't know why they're so good with you."
Right. Yep.
The mindset that we're in is not one of being afraid.
Right.
I go out with the mindset of, what are we going to find today?
Yeah.
What's our adventure?
Mm-hmm.
And to that end, I used to take this pit bull out, and we would go out on adventures, and we would talk about the scary blue monster garbage cans that were around, and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
I think the underlying thing here is for the dog to trust you, and that is very broad. It depends on the dog's personality. It depends on the environment.
And who's failed the dog.
Everything comes into play, but ultimately the dog needs to trust. Mm-hmm. And when I go out, and a couple other times I was attacked by animal control's personal dog. It's with kind of a reactive dog, and it's about trust. Trust me, buddy.
Yeah.
It's okay. You don't have to be like that. And we're making micro adjustments as we're going. I know I get into a mode where I'm focusing on just the little micro things that the dog is doing. You're situationally aware, and perhaps more than I would be in walking through the mall or something. But but your spidey senses are on, and you're watching the dog. Did the dog turn its head left? Did it turn right? Is it posturing? Is it lifting lips? This kind of thing. I mean, you're making these little micro corrections as you're going along, and then all of a sudden the walk is over. You're like, oh, that was great. So trust and being situationally aware and clearing that mind, too many mind.
Yeah. Shannon or Michelle, where do you start?
So I absolutely agree with everything that's been said here. Also, if you see a situation coming up, like if you see a dog before your dog does, take a big breath, and you can cross the road. It's totally fine. Be confident about it. Don't act like you're afraid, because if you act like you're afraid, your dog is going to pick up on that. But totally get out of that situation. That's for me, that's 100% fine. Just cross the road and give that dog a bubble. Give your dog a bigger bubble, because I don't think people realize that like their dog, like the dog you're walking, has a certain size bubble too, and it's being restricted in that bubble by that leash, and they can't get out. So it's totally fine to create distance, but do it in a confident way. Don't act like you're afraid and you're running away from it. If you see it coming, just proudly walk across the street. Don't be afraid of offending somebody that is walking down the street that you're like, oh my gosh, they think I'm a ugly person or something. Where it's like that. Like, don't even think of it that way. Just confidently, just cross the street, get out of the situation, and socialize your dog. Get out there, get walking. And do it. I mean, if you have to call somebody and be on the phone with them, go out walking with friends. If your dogs have other dog friends, make a weekly thing that you go out walking together, and it's a pack thing, and you just guys go out and you guys enjoy yourself and socialize, so the dogs can go out and socialize.
Good. So I'm gonna capture and kind of put all of this together. We get in a mindset of when we describe and talk about walking. We talk about getting on the sidewalk and going on a straight line, and not like we got to get our miles in. We got to get our everything that is a part of this walk. We got to make this happen. And the first advice that I would give anybody out there that has a leash reactive dog is, one, put them on a leash collar situation that they cannot get out of. And with that, I'm a big fan of the slip leads or the slip collars, so that, one, you don't want your dog pulling out of the leash to get to another dog. And so, your tools get, set up a scenario that your dog can't get out of. Second of all, you don't have to go in a straight line, and you don't have to walk through the neighborhoods. If today you're just going to start in an empty parking lot and wander around aimlessly as you're talking on the phone or listen to your favorite podcast or whatever that is, to just wander and just say, I'm going to be out for a half hour wandering. You'll get your miles in. Your dog learns to follow. When your dog pulls one direction, just wander another direction and get your dog to follow you. And then gradually start wandering into more and more stressful environments. But space, bubbles, that stuff is by far the most important thing. Don't put your dog in a situation that they can't handle. Create the bubble and shrink that bubble a little at a time. And then on top of that, I would also highly recommend hiring a trainer, because they're not just watching the dog, they're watching you. I can't tell you how many times I walk behind people and say, breathe, relax your shoulder, relax the leash, don't grip the leash. It's okay. What are you thinking about? How's your daughter? Then I start carrying on conversation once I can get them to a point of breathing that now just talk to me about things. And then I'll throw things in there. Stop creating tension, loosen up on the leash, let's turn this way. And then we go back to, what are you doing this weekend? And so having a trainer that can help you fine tune those little pieces to help you get through it, I think is really important. Trying to take on leash reactivity on your own sometimes can even just make it worse. And so, get somebody that knows what they're doing and help you through it in a way that your dog is not being forced into a situation that you